My boss announced I'd be training my replacement. I smiled and said I'd be happy to help. 3 weeks later, she realized she just trained someone to expose her entire embezzlement scheme. I'd been working accounts payable for 4 years when Monica called me into her office on a Tuesday afternoon. We're restructuring, she said, not even looking up from her computer. Bringing in fresh talent. You'll train Veronica, then we'll discuss your future here. The way she said discuss told me everything. I wasn't being promoted. I was being phased out. Monica had always treated me like I was disposable. I'd covered for her when she took 3-hour lunches. I'd stayed late to fix her mistakes on quarterly reports. I'd never complained when she took credit for the new invoice system I designed, and this was my reward. Veronica started Monday morning, 23, fresh out of college, eager to prove herself. She had a new notebook and color-coded pens. She asked a million questions and wrote down every single answer. Most people would have been annoyed, but I liked her immediately. She actually cared about doing things right. I showed her everything: how to process invoices in the system, how to run monthly reports, how to reconcile accounts and catch discrepancies. She was a fast learner, picked up in days what took me weeks when I started. She even noticed inefficiencies in our process that I'd stopped questioning years ago. Week 2, Veronica was reviewing a batch of vendor payments when she stopped mid-click. She turned to me with a confused expression. Hey, why do some of these vendor payments go to a different routing number than what's listed on their invoices? I glanced at her screen. Those were Monica's special accounts, the ones she always processed herself. I'd noticed the discrepancy 2 years ago and mentioned it once. Monica had shut me down immediately, said it was above my pay grade, told me to focus on my own work. That's a question for Monica, I said, keeping my voice neutral. You should ask her directly. Veronica nodded and walked straight to Monica's office. I watched through the glass walls as Veronica showed Monica her screen. Monica's face went completely pale. Her smile looked frozen. She was talking fast, gesturing with her hands. Veronica nodded slowly, still looking uncertain. When Veronica came back to her desk, she looked troubled. Monica said it's a special processing system for preferred vendors. Something about expedited payments and routing efficiency. Does that sound right to you? I shrugged. Makes sense, I guess. Then I pulled up the vendor contact list on my screen and scrolled through it slowly. You know what might help you learn faster? I said casually. You should call some of these vendors directly. Build relationships. It's good for your career. Shows initiative. Veronica's face lit up. That's a great idea. Over the next week, I watched Veronica work through the vendor list. She'd call during her lunch break, introducing herself as the new accounts payable coordinator, asking about their preferences and payment timelines. She was genuinely trying to do a good job. She had no idea what she was uncovering. By the end of week 3, Veronica's notebook had a lot more than training notes. She'd called 6 vendors whose payments went through those alternate routing numbers. 3 had never heard of the secondary account and had no idea why their payments would be split. 2 said they'd been complaining for months about only receiving partial payments. 1 vendor got angry and asked if we'd finally received their fraud report from last year. Thursday afternoon, Veronica spent 2 hours organizing everything into a binder. Color-coded tabs, printed emails, highlighted discrepancies. She looked nervous when she stood up from her desk. I'm going to talk to Monica, she said quietly. Something's really wrong here. I just nodded. Good luck. Friday afternoon, Veronica walked into Monica's office with her binder and closed the door. I couldn't hear the words, but I could hear Monica's voice rising, then yelling, then silence. Then Monica burst out of her office, grabbed her purse from her desk, and practically ran toward the elevator. She didn't even look at me, didn't say goodbye, didn't take her framed photos or her coffee mug collection. She just left. Veronica came out a few minutes later, pale and shaking. She'd already called HR, already sent them copies of everything. Monica never came back. Not Monday, not ever. The following week, corporate sent auditors. They spent 3 days going through 4 years of records. Turned out Monica had been routing portions of vendor payments to her personal account since before I was even hired. Over $200,000. Monday morning, corporate called an emergency meeting and announced Monica had been terminated for financial misconduct and was facing criminal charges. Veronica got promoted to department supervisor.